Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will immerse ourselves in Esther Waters by George Moore. Esther Waters, written by George Moore and first published in 1894, is a landmark novel in English naturalism, heavily influenced by the works of Émile Zola. The novel explores the life of Esther Waters, a young working-class woman who faces a series of personal and social challenges as she struggles to survive in Victorian England. Set against a backdrop of class divisions, religious conflicts, and the harsh realities of life in service, Esther Waters offers a compelling exploration of morality, gender roles, and the harsh treatment of single mothers in the 19th century. Plot summary: Esther Waters stood on the railway platform, clutching her belongings as the last train disappeared from view. A girl of 20, plain but strong, she wore a simple yellow dress and a black jacket, her modest appearance belying the determination within her. Esther had left her family and the familiar streets of London to begin a new life as a kitchen maid at Woodview, a large estate in the countryside. But as she approached her new place of employment, doubts gnawed at her. She imagined the lives of the wealthy family she was to serve, the grand house, and the other servants, more refined, more experienced than she. Esther had no choice but to push these fears aside, for she had no means to return home. Born into poverty, Esther's life had been shaped by hardship. Raised by strict Plymouth Brethren parents, her father's early death left the family destitute. Her mother remarried, but Esther's stepfather was cruel and tyrannical. Forced to leave school to care for her younger siblings, she grew up illiterate, unskilled, and vulnerable. When her stepfather insisted she take any job to contribute to the family's income, she found herself working in various households, enduring long hours and harsh conditions. Yet, despite everything, Esther's faith in God remained unshaken. It was her anchor, the one constant in a life of uncertainty. At Woodview, Esther found herself amidst a household engrossed in a culture she had never known. The Barfield family, her employers, kept racehorses, and the world of betting and gambling seemed to touch every corner of their lives. Esther's position in the kitchen placed her under the rule of Mrs. Latch, the irritable cook, and among fellow servants like the sharp-tongued Sarah and the flirtatious William Latch, the cook's son. William, tall and charming, soon set his sights on Esther. His easy manner and playful affection drew her in, but beneath his charm, there was a recklessness Esther failed to see. One evening, after weeks of growing closer, William seduced Esther. Unmarried and alone, she soon discovered she was pregnant. In desperation, she confided in William, but he refused to take responsibility. With no support from him and no family to turn to, Esther was dismissed from Woodview. She wandered back to London, penniless and frightened, seeking any work to sustain herself. Eventually, she found employment as a nurse in a charity hospital, hiding her pregnancy as long as she could. Months later, Esther gave birth to a son, Jack. Her love for him was immediate and fierce. Despite the harshness of her life, she was determined to raise him, whatever the cost. Her devotion to Jack defined every choice she made thereafter. But as a single mother, her struggle was immense. Work was scarce, and those who did employ her offered little pay. She moved from job to job, doing what she could to support her child. Years passed, and William Latch reappeared in her life. Now married, he had become the owner of a public house and, surprisingly, offered Esther and Jack a place to stay. Though William's motives were unclear, Esther accepted his help, partly out of necessity, partly out of the residual feelings she still harbored for him. For a time, things seemed to improve. William appeared repentant for his past mistakes, and Esther allowed herself to hope that they might raise Jack together as a family. But William had not changed. His gambling habits resurfaced, and his obsession with betting on horses threatened to ruin everything. Esther watched helplessly as his debts mounted. William's restless ambition, always reaching for more, became his downfall. Despite his failings, Esther remained loyal, tied to him by the bond of their shared son. When William's health deteriorated due to tuberculosis, Esther cared for him until his death. His passing left her alone once more, but now she carried a new burden: the debt he left behind. The years that followed were marked by constant toil. Esther worked tirelessly to repay what William owed, moving through the unforgiving world of service. Jack, meanwhile, grew into a young man. As he matured, he too became drawn into the world of gambling, despite Esther's desperate attempts to steer him away from the vices that had ruined his father. Jack's independence strained their relationship, and he left home, seeking his own path, leaving Esther behind. In her later years, Esther returned to service at Woodview. Her son gone, her hopes dimmed, she resumed the life she had known before motherhood had overtaken her world. The familiar routine of domestic work gave her little comfort, but her faith endured. Esther's belief in God and her love for her son were the two pillars of her life that had never wavered, even in the face of overwhelming hardship. Though Jack had left her, he eventually returned, older and wiser. His experience away from home had changed him, and he now sought to mend the relationship with his mother. They reconciled, and in the quiet moments of their reunion, Esther found peace. The years of struggle had not broken her, and though her life had been filled with pain, her strength and devotion remained unshaken. Esther's journey had been one of survival, and in the end, it was her unyielding love and faith that saw her through. If you loved this, don't stop here. Check out other books by George Moore. You'll find them below or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in George Moore's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.